to function. So I think we should just celebrate everyone that worked in a radio station.
I appreciate the hard work that you do. Well, Fuatai, let's talk a little bit about some of the stories that, caused quite the buzz on social media over the weekend. Thankfully, yourself, Barrister Curtis, and Nurdin Adigbero, you had quite the conversation yesterday on a political roundtable. But I'd like to take our mind back to the conversation that involves Dave Umahi, right, the Minister of Works, where there were questions. The committee were questioning him about, first of all, why there was a blockage on the coastal highway, right, and also why he had decided to switch contractors from Julius Berger to Meccano. Because of the back and forth that had happened during that meeting, we were not able to really get concrete answers. However, as you said that he did not answer the question, he decided to do something of a press briefing to answer the questions that were asked regarding why there was blockage on a newly constructed road and also the switch of contractors. And I'll just play you what he said very briefly. It's about 40 seconds, and then we can see if in a way that justifies some of the decisions he has made, and also the fact that he has refuted a number of claims that were leveled against.
Underground channel were blocked with refuse. And this is the basic reason why we even have flooding in most cases in Lagos, where people carry their daily refuse and then put it inside the manhole. I think the public has a duty to, checkmate these things. There's no Meccano here. I've met with these three owners of the company. However, whether it's Meccano that is doing the job or it's not doing the job, the important thing is the job being done? And so the bottom line is that there is no Meccano in what we are doing.
Fuatai, would you consider this clarification enough to the questions that were posed to the minister on the coastal highway?
You see, I think Minister Dave Umahi needs to understand that he's not serving himself. He's serving the people. And no matter what you think of the representatives of the people, the Senate, the House of Reps, because as it stands in this our democracy, they are the representatives of the people. And so they have a right to know. And no, it's quite obvious that Minister Dave Umahi likes this idea of deflecting. When answers are thrown at him. It was a very simple question from Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Why did you take the job away from Julius Berger that has a long-standing record of implementing a project like this? I have it as, look, you've given it to a Meccano that is not known for constructing roads in Nigeria. They are known majorly for importing or probably selling of generators. And at that instance, it was clear that he was not sure of the company that was not handling the job. I said, no, that was not the question. It was not a question about the quality of the work. It was about transparency on who is handling the job and why you took it away from Julius Berger. The answers could have been, well, this was what you understand what I'm saying. I think cool. And he went on and on and on and on. And then he had to now call a press conference. Yoruba page one and Tony Kushe Tulenka still unanswered. He went on and on and on, and eventually had to organize the whole press conference to answer the question. You and I know really needless. The other one is the issue of flooding on the new coastal road. About 2 years ago or so, when the project was going to start, this was the same day. Again, we are talking about the coastal road. The topography in itself shows that, look, you've got to have a solid plan, a solid plan on the possibility of flooding. It's a coastal road, for God's sake. So you're probably going to have swampy areas, the topography and all of that. Now, what you said was to say people were dumping refuse, and that's in fact the reason why most roads in Lagos are flooded. Look, it's still about planning. It is still about what? Planning. So if the planning was solid enough, you would have also planned on the possibility of people dumping refuse on it. Once a road is still under construction, you can't have a fully functional. So you might be seeing one or two cases of we have been complaining about how dirty Lagos has been in recent time. In Lagos, I've not been able to answer that. Do we have a new arrangement in Lagos? Yes, we can blame people, for dumping refuse or draining channels and what have you. But to go to different parts of Lagos State, You go to Ikotu, go PT at the areas where you have market. What's going on?
Well, that is the explanation he has provided so far. I would like to emphasize that this is just part of a very lengthy press briefing. All other matters, I'm pretty certain that across...
You know, was still this same minister, when the road was going to start, that a reporter had asked him, where is the environmental impact assessment report for that?
Would you force a man to understand the language?
It was a very simple question from the reporter. Look, you can't have a plain report. Environmental impact it has flooding issues. Boimbo.
Well, we're still speaking billion naira is the budget for INEC, 300 billion.
Billion, yeah.
Yes, 300 billion. And so there are questions about some of the even health for INEC workers, the provision for healthcare for INEC workers, among other things. Now, Adams Oshiomhole had questions, particularly on the miscellaneous and also the health provision of that particular budget. So we will play for the 2027 election.
What do you have to have in your INEC hospital? Do you have INEC special disease? I don't think so. Because this is an area we can avoid the Ministry of Health. And if INEC people in Abuja needs quality health care and you think you are not getting it, we talk to the Minister of Health.
They made a provision for INEC healthcare.
Blah, blah, blah. But look, Senator Oshiomhole is presenting it as like they want to have a hospital, and not in just one location. It's not all the operations are not in Abuja.
So that's why I played that part. But he also asked questions about miscellaneous expensive. What are the possible expenses that would most likely need you to budget as much as 41 billion for it? Explain to us that.
Are you buying new ones?
Are you buying new ones? I mean, all the adjustments you need to do is probably reconfiguration, which is a software initiative, right? So why do we need to use it already? Why do we still need to spend?
The devices are still available. Maybe one or two damaged along the line, you know.
Okay, that's his question. So let's talk about that one.
I must tell you, very valid question from Senator Adams Oshiomhole. You know, after the whole rub your leg, I don't rub my leg, controversy, to really doing a very good job, at the committee level to raise pertinent questions about budgetary provisions. And one of them, the way you've seen, the way he are very, very intelligent. If he decides to put up his A game. Now, I'm actually surprised about some of the line items. I begin to see very funny things. Unfortunately, some of the revelations we have seen is that look, the most critical aspects of our lives are less than 50 million was released in the whole year. So you wonder why our public hospitals are more important to us than some of these other things. INEC must get what it needs to get quickly so that there are no excuses for not conducting a proper election on some of these line items. For example, what beavers are we buying again? We already bought. I don't think we've increased the number of polling units across the country. So, I'll tell you election. For this year's all-cycle election, say, these two, Ekiti or Shosha, next year, close to about over 1 trillion naira, say, just to run election. We will still go there and not even do anything to better the lives of the people.
We start to, should I say, spend the 58 trillion that we budgeted for the 2026 Fuad side. Maybe as we conclude the program later in the morning, we can have a brief conversation about the El-Rufai controversy. Except Fuad, you'd like for us to briefly talk about that. Is the NSA's phone bogged, as El-Rufai says he had found out about the arrest or the call for arrest before he even entered the country.
On a political roundtable yesterday, so those are listening to the show would have at least gotten, what I consider my own honest opinion from what the analysts have said. After officials, the way they carry themselves, and sometimes just embarrass the entire country by the way they conduct themselves. At the airport when El-Rufai arrived, I'm sure they were foreign nationals, or who would have been wondering why the entire show of force, why the entire tapping of that look, it could just be a mind game from Ananasi El-Rufai. Again, when they talked about the fact that somebody tapped the phone of Ananasi El-Rufai, tapped it, you don't know. Because it could just be somebody who is close to the NSA who are giving out that information. It's just like as journalists. If I give an exclusive on the National Security Advisor, no law in Nigeria compels me to reveal my source of information. If you understand what I'm saying. So the question are tapping. Because again we are talking about a very sensitive position In the US, as Mr. Curtis explained yesterday, once you become the president, your function, some people will be talking to you. The NSA is also almost in that kind of position. It gets lit up. But you know, one of the things we also raised yesterday is about the competence of this NSA. Remember the Binance people that were detained by the office of the from the office of the NSA, that you arrested somebody, you detained somebody under your custody, and then they said the person went to pray, and before you know, the man is out of the country. It raises a lot of questions about the competence of the NSA. A lot of people are focused on it when it comes to doing his job.
The Punch newspaper, ex-INEC chief demand real-time results transmission as National Assembly panel meet. Now, former officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission have intensified calls for mandatory real-time of the proposed electoral reform, with real-time electoral commission ahead of results. First of all, he says that failure to mandate electronic transmission, or at least, should I say, consolidate electronic opinion, a lot of lawmakers who do not get the support or the backing of their political party do not return to the National Assembly because of these tampering of vote, which numbers across the different Senate, the 6th Senate, the 7th Senate. He did a comparative analysis that only 11. He gave an example of the 9th Senate, for example, 2019 to 2023. 45 were re-elected, 64 do not return, especially when they do not have the backing of their political parties. With regard I wouldn't say buying and offline functionality. So it's very possible that you use BVAS whether or not you think that there's poor connection, whether you or even IRA, whether or not you think there's no connection in these areas. It has offline functions. It can be uploaded, and when you get to a place where there's internet connectivity, it would definitely reflect on that portal, and it would minimize human factors. He also denied the claims that INEC is incapable of doing electronic transmission. We have everything we need. We have the resources. We have people who understand the system. So it's untrue when we posit that INEC does not have the capacity to transmit election results electronically.
Now, Mike Guinea, one of the very vocal former officials of INEC of this subject matter. Now, what he's saying is to first tell the legislators, this thing you are doing will come back to haunt you. And political party, I will never forget 2007 elections when people at that time, when I say leadership, the president and people who were pulling the strings in the PDP made these people. But you know that, look, a lot of them were forced out of their political parties because most of them even won the elections. But at the point of collation, one year go any. So what is manual collation? A lot of things can happen. Look, say if you see some result sheet, but you change, and look, without even altering result sheet, you can even just swap. And so what is saying for it? Because there will be times that you might not be in the good books of your political party. You fall away with to the fact that, look, see, INEC INEC did a survey with the Nigerian Communications Commission. So what are we talking about here? What is even the now? So again, Mike Guinea is just trying to tell them that we cannot electronically transmit our results all over the country. It's about us having the determination to do it by time. Maybe not today because of time. Maybe one of our shows. It's democracy. On the average, over 900 million Indians conduct their elections to the point where you hardly hear anybody going to court to challenge some people vote on election day. And you have close to 2 million polling units spread across the country. In fact, in one of my research, they said they even provided polling booths for only a man who stays in a particular location. He's the only one in that village. But to ensure that everybody is captured, nobody is left out, they created a polling unit for him. In India, there's electronic voting. So again, we say this is because instead of us making tangible improvements,
Guinea says these election technology we've adopted have both offline and online functionality, right? And he has drawn attention to the fact that if you allow for this system to go because at the moment you think it serves you, one day you might be at the receiving end because they fell out with their political parties and the return. Let's still talk about INEC a little bit and the timetable for the date of the election as provided by INEC. February 20 is the day slate Ramadan, and there are some I wouldn't call them clerics per se, but they're believers who think that people need to be of sound mind, body and soul, and when they're going through, they might need to convene to have a conversation about whether or not to shift the date of the presidential election, which is currently stated as February 20. They're giving your opinion yesterday, but for the sake of those who probably didn't listen to the show yesterday, what are your
talking about? You need finally to look at the fact that these elections will be as scheduled. What do you think is that? Is it that INEC doesn't know there are Muslims in Nigeria? And some other people. Well, as Nigerians, we all have a right to raise concerns on some of these things. And as you can see, INEC is saying that, look, they're already consulting. It might be one of the considerations today too at the National Assembly. The appointed of February presidential election. But even if they put it on the 13th, say 2 weeks interval means that the second election will fall in Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. And like we said yesterday, but look, we are talking about just 2 Saturdays the entire month. They do their normal activity, they go to market. But the fact that people do their students go to school, right? So there are some states that shut down everything during that month. That's the problem again. I don't know why any state would decide to shut down the entire. There's a lot of work spiritually, but you should have your normal daily activity. But don't be surprised that look, it might be a consideration to either conduct the elections before Ramadan or maybe after, but the gift of the law. So we wait to see what's going to happen at that level. The lawmaker, once we go on our daily, activities during the month, I don't think it should affect just 2 Saturdays to conduct elections.
Trends in the papers, Mainland 98.3 FM. We're live on Facebook as we're going through these reports. Please do well to continue as such. And if time permits us, hopefully when we start to take feedback, I can go back to these messages and read them if they are relevant to the security. Lawmakers split over Ndume's support for U.S. troops deployment. 2 members of the House of Representatives have expressed different views on Senator Ali Ndume's recent call for the deployment of United States troops to Nigeria amid worsening insecurity in the northeast. Speaking on Friday as a guest on Channels Television, Ndume had endorsed the deployment of U.S. soldiers to Borno State to assist in combating insurgents. Many efforts to get it, but failed. Now that we have a window of opportunity, we must utilize it. Currently in Nigeria, he says, the issue is not additional or fewer numbers, but what role and feeds the adversary. He said, therefore, that if there is a needed capacity gap to fill, then by all means let it be provided for. If not, then no need for more. So this is a question of the amount of that. Maybe send more foot soldiers to places like Borno State, for example. But we have other lawmakers who are of the opinion we have here in the country, as long as they're able to support our own armed forces here in the country. And so there are some groups as well who think that as well as provision of sophisticated equipment.
You see, the reality is they say it. I doubt if the U.S. really do. Right. Except there's a real big need for it to happen, Again, this is the time where even there are people who are even questioning Donald Trump. Some of the support base who have said that, look, bringing them home. So again, he has also said that, look, when it comes to ground operations, it might not really be a consideration of land in the country to bring in more troops. From our own officials, they are saying that, look, to conduct ground operations and what have you. See, the reality is that, look, I understand badly it has to be Borno State. It would be wrong for me to sit back in a relatively secure Lagos. I understand with the sense of Ndume. But, like, if you listen to us yesterday, this collaboration is a welcome development. But again, we have to be strategic in our thinking when it comes to these kinds of collaboration. So the question again is, do we have a military base now by the U.S. in Nigeria? We need to know, and there must be complete transparency on that. This is just a 10 question that the Nigerian government needs to answer. The other one is that, look, how effective can this collaboration be? Even in situations where the U.S. military are done properly, even the stories of Vietnam. Because when you talk about insurgency, say that we mentioned physical war like that, yes, some of them are calm in the trenches and in our bushes. But they also have to solve this problem of insurgency. It lies in our hands. They will not automatically solve the problem for us. We have to have the well-funded to take this battle to this criminal. We will still have to solve our problem ourselves. That's what we are saying. But for the
To round off conversations, presidency refutes Amaechi's allegation on tax law. The presidency has rejected former Transportation Minister Rotimi Amaechi's claims about the new tax law, calling them egregious lies. Bayo Onanuga, special advisor to the president, responded to a viral video where Amaechi warned of serious economic consequences if the APC remains in power after 2027 election. Let me quote: immediately after the election, APC will implement the tax law. The tax law is if I pay you 100 million naira for building materials, automatically 25 million will leave your account. If you're a landlord and you're building a house, you will be charged 25% extra because you will not be it alone. You will transfer it to the person who buys or rent. If the man who rented the house is a doctor, find the soundbite early enough. But there you have it. Bayo Onanuga is saying that's a lie. Those are not the provisions of the tax laws, and encouraging people to go do their own investigation.
tax law, the four of them say. So if Rotimi Amaechi is just playing politics, by saying that, oh, you are going to be in trouble, well, the law is go up in arms against them, not to go fight them, but it may have political consequences for them. And what they are doing is, after they win the election, they will now go full throttle to implement the tax law. And so you are saying if you have 100 million paid to you, that the tax law is already being implemented.
Yeah.
But I must tell you that even if it's implemented, I'm not sure it is already being fully implemented. See?
Yeah, it's Fuad. Even what's his name now? The man who has been pushing this. It escapes me. Says that
the tax man.
It's provisions of the other ones that are still in contention. I think those are the ones that are not in full effect yet.
The impact of this tax law is not something we're going to feel immediately. There are eyes on what is happening at that level. Politicians will make statements, valid or not valid. Propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, facts would also come out. And everybody's going to play their game. Rotimi Amaechi may be playing his game. I saw him yesterday.
That's the name I was trying to remember. Yeah, he was talking about delivering victory to the All Progressives Congress in the FC in morning. That's the pushback that has, trailed that video of him promising to deliver votes to the APC.
At this period, he's going to top the list. If he's not number one, he'll be number two. That choir government. People did to get to bring him in, thinking they were fighting the Saraki stronghold. So at the average choir person, they tell you that the man doesn't even stay in the state like that. So you will not be surprised that the places he had visited to go to the Arugumbu festival. Look, even the last time he went to Benue, he stopped in Makodi. He did not get to that community.
Yeah, said the road was bad.
And so people will say it does not matter, but in reality, governance, we always say when it comes to governance, sometimes perception is bigger than reality.
The optics don't look very good.
The optics doesn't look good. People are killed in their numbers. We don't find the president there, but he is able to go to a fishing festival. I think he will be in Adamawa too.
Yes.
Maybe today or tomorrow. It's not impossible. When you begin to see those things, he might just, should it come as a surprise if it happens? Would you be surprised if it really decides tomorrow?
Let's see.
It shouldn't come as, I don't know. So, but what we are saying is that government should show more empathy, show more commitment to the people, by at least showing some form of real solidarity, not just press statement. Those ones anybody can just quickly in 5 minutes write a statement. So it's also very unfortunate that you have the president not visiting some of these troubled communities. But he's well and alive and capable of politics.
Well, Fuad, we're pressed for time. We have to go.